right. Thank you for joining us once again for an episode of Life Without Limits. And yes, it is a new day. If you've woken up this morning, you're blessed. Go your way in peace and do what you can do today. I'm very excited to be with you all here today. And of course, we want to shout out our title sponsor, Iron Fist Global, honoring and preserving the legacy of Big Proof, Deshaun Holton. We are very grateful that they have seen something in Life Without Limits that they chose to connect with and chose to associate Big Proof's name and legacy and life's work too. I'm very honored that they felt that and they partnered with me on this. Today I am so excited. One of my favorite people in the world is here today, and you know he's a grassroots, boots on the ground revolutionary, doing what he can do day to day to improve his life, the life of his neighbors, his children, other children. He really understands the collective consciousness and that we can do more together as a team than one individual could ever do alone. I'm so pleased to have with me today Mr. Yusef Shakur.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm pleased, and like I said, I've been waiting for this since March of 2012, and you know you've been doing so many different things that this is finally the time that we've come together. And I believe in divine time, in divine timing, because in March of 2012, you know, we didn't have the good news of your running for City Council in District 5. We did not yet at that time have the People's Survival Program Detroit implemented. You know, there's so many things that you have grown and, you know, evolved over this last year. So I'm pleased to have this Yusef sitting here next to me. And as we start, as I mentioned, we've got what, you know, many people are talking about now, the upcoming election in Detroit.
Right.
We are all familiar. I don't think there's anyone, you know, globally that is not familiar with Detroit in some way, shape, or form. You know, the conscious, active people, they've been here and they know the good. The mainstream media wants to always do what they do.
Correct.
But we determine, you know, our destiny, and we determine what images are going to be propelled and promoted about Detroit. So as we look at the City Council election in light of everything that Detroit has been through, what made you decide to run? What are your feelings about not only the City Council run, but just the upcoming election in general, mayoral's race, anything you want to speak on?
Again, thank you for having me. It's an honor and pleasure
Yes.
to be here. At your other, but Life Without Limits has always been there, which other broadcasters you use
Yes.
to be able to promote, share with the world who we are and what we do. I'm running for City Council. It was a decision that I really, you know, I went to bed with, I woke up with, and I wrestled with it because city politics and politics, electoral politics, is not something that I'm into per se, but I'm definitely into the people.
Yes.
And the reality that our people are dependent upon that form of government to a great degree. So the work that I do, I feel like I'm already an elected official.
Yes.
Advocating, organizing, speaking, talking on behalf of my community. First and foremost, my decision to run for city government is not that I believe that change for us will come out of city politics. I don't believe that. But what I do believe that this is a tactic, this is a strategy that can be used to further educate, organize, and politicize my community.
Yes.
About the resources, about what's really going on, but also exposing that at the end of the day, change has to come from us.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm not no savior. I'm not gonna paint no picture that I can come save any shit, because I can't save shit.
That's right.
But we can save some shit. We
Yes.
can fix some shit. So it's on us. So really being able to separate the difference between, you know, real grassroots folks versus popular folks.
Yeah.
You know, anybody that knows me, you know, I'm always up front. I make mistakes like anybody else make mistakes, but at the end of the day, nobody can ever question my integrity, my hard work, my commitment, my love for my people, and my love for change. That's written in blood, written in sweat and tears. And for a person who's made, you know, a lot out of nothing, you know, I epitomize that making $1 out of 15 cents. And so that's what we want to, you know, take that mentality and be able to use it as an organizing tool and and organizing our people, not only in Detroit, but across the nation, across the world, because wherever a black person suffering, we're all suffering until we're all free.
Absolutely. And and as you were talking, your comments brought to mind a quote that I like that says, transformation comes through transparency.
Mm-hmm.
And from my experience, and social media, that's a whole nother thing. People use it. Some people misuse it, but it can be a good tool if you recognize it for what it is.
Absolutely.
And some people, you've got supporters and you've got detractors, but at the end of the day, I can say that I've observed nothing else. You've been transparent. Absolutely. And I have to admit this, when, you started talking about running for city council, I said to myself, I was worried about your rough edges, but I said, you know what, because I was just concerned about, I don't know, I just so wanted, everything to really, I want you to win. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is you're going to keep doing what you're doing, win, lose, or draw.
Absolutely.
And that's why I support you. I don't live in District 5, so I can't vote for you. This is about all I can do for you is share with you. But anytime I can, give you a platform to promote anything that's going on, because I know at your heart that your concern is the betterment of your people. And what I do like about you the most is that this was born through your struggles and what you went through. Just share with us some of, whatever you want to share about your upbringing, your formative years, and how that brought us this Yusef Shakur.
Those things that you're referring to is actually allowed me to be who I am, these rough edges.
Yes, yes.
The day I stopped having these rough edges, the day I saw a lot.
That's right.
The day I lost my connection to my community, I lost my connection to the pain of growing up without a father, the pain of growing up with an alcoholic mother, the pain of growing up in a heartless community that contributed to a heartless young man that got kicked out of every Detroit public school he went to, that co-founded a gang in the city of Detroit that broke his mama's heart. That was a predator. Also went to prison and met his father there, and that relationship that I developed with my father had a tremendous impact on me, transforming, redeeming my life based upon my father transforming and redeeming his life. Yes. And using those 9 years as a preparation ground to be who I am, but understanding, as many of us across this country honored and saluted one of our greatest leaders, greatest heroes, greatest generals, Malcolm X.
Yes.
There cannot be a Yusef Shakur without a Malcolm X. Again, my whole name is Yusef Shakur. One of the fallen comrades who was murdered in prison, George Jackson. I said there's two kind of men that leave prison, which is the Bunchy Carters / Malcolm X. And I'm honored to say that I'm out here continuing that tradition. I'm not Malcolm X, but I'm definitely a Malcolmite.
That's right.
So I want to be clear, I'm not a Malcolm X, but I'm a Malcolmite. And without his transformation, I would not be a transformed man. But also understanding our transformation is talking about healing ourselves.
Yes.
From the hurt and the pain of growing up with the social ills of not having resources in our community, of the racism of white supremacy have contributed to the lack of quality of life in our community, where unfortunately many of us don't understand those things, where we just walk out and we blame each other. And some of it is our own ownership, but again, the reality we're living in a society that still don't give a fuck about black people. They rather lock us up, kill us, and et cetera, et cetera.
And one thing that I've come across as I've just researched and lived, and I've come to see this system, which is a white supremacist system, is designed for our destruction. It's not designed to uplift us, to support us. Even with their programs, there's always something underlying. It's not just well, we'll give you a bridge card, or we'll do this or do that. Even in that, for a mother and her children to have a bridge card or to receive benefits, I've heard in times where, if there was a man in the home, he'd had to leave, or there couldn't be any evidence of him being there in order for his kids to be fed. So, those kinds of things that are set up to break down the family structure. And I'm a firm believer that as your family goes, so that block goes, so that neighborhood goes, so that city goes, state, country, world. So that's where I believe in. When you talk about healing, that's what we're about here at Life Without Limits. Yep, we have some challenges to overcome. Everybody does. Problems and challenges are a guarantee in this life. But the thing that makes the difference is, do you crumble under the weight, or do you press the weight and become stronger through it? You know, and the one thing that I do recall from your story, you mentioned your 9 years of incarceration, you mentioned your gang involvement, and it was interesting that through their injustice system, you went to jail for a crime you didn't commit. However, you know, there's always cause and effect. There were other things in motion. What were your feelings about that?
Going to prison for a crime I didn't commit.
Right.
I mean, shit, like anybody, I was angry.
Right.
I was hurt. I was mad. But the difference between me and other individuals, I've always prided myself on being a realist.
Yes.
And being that acknowledging shit as easy. I got convicted for something I did. My homies could have got convicted for something I had done because I wasn't an angel.
Yes.
So it came with the territory, you know. And so when you look at the streets, and many of us, you know, pride like I'm this gangster, I'm this thug.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so on that level, you have to take your personal responsibility.
Yeah.
So even though I didn't do that personally, I was guilty of being a member of a gang. I was guilty of things that I got away with.
Yeah.
But also, you know, I'm governed. We are governed by a higher power, which
Yes.
is God,
Yes.
first and foremost. So even though the court sentenced me, the redemption was a result of God, His
Yes.
sentence. Because the reality, if I had beat the case, I wouldn't be who I am today. So it was a greater message, a greater meaning that God made that happen for a reason. And I'm just honored and fortunate where my mind, with it being as limited that it is,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to comprehend the message that was being conveyed to me through my father and through that circumstance for a better me to be here today.
And even that dynamic, meeting, you know, reconnecting with your father in prison, him sharing things with you, because I've come to understand through research, but also through people that have experienced it, it's not set up for rehabilitation. It's not set up, you know, to have a better individual leave. It's set up for recidivism and to keep that prison industrial complex going. You know, we have to be real, I believe, as not just African Americans, but Latinos, all peoples, that we are in this system, what it's really designed to do, you know, and like you say, understand that as we function day to day, as we engage.
Right. I mean, you know, you just threw out the phrase
What is it?
prison industrial complex.
Yes.
You know, it's a hot phrase, such
Okay.
as mass incarceration, but we got to be careful with phrases,
Okay.
phraseology, because you know the truth of the matter, you know, prison industrial complex and mass incarceration is an extension of black oppression.
Okay.
Extension of black destruction. So if we don't say that, we're sugarcoating, we're downplaying,
Mm-hmm.
as if mass incarceration is totally separate.
Okay.
No matter, again,
It's part of the system.
which the system is the deliberate destruction of black people,
Yeah.
of brown people. Because again, historically you understand the 13th Amendment, which was came into effect to abolish slavery.
Yes.
Which it states neither slavery nor voluntary servitude shall exist except as a punishment for a crime. So when you look at them, so that was nothing but a war tactic, a war strategy. How do we, you know, it's getting to a point where we can't physically slave and just keep them locked up. So let's do some trickery here.
Mm-hmm.
The fact of the matter is, when we was brought here, we didn't know this culture, we didn't know this language, nothing. So when you kicked us off the plantation, all we could do was rob and steal.
Right.
So when you fast forward and you look at this, the same social economic dynamics within our community, folks find themselves in that same pattern, but the profit is still there. Profiting off black humanity,
Yeah.
the black the slavery is still there. So again, I mean, it's a phrase that's necessary, but more than what is more necessary is getting to the root. You know, it's about ending black oppression. So we
Yes.
end black oppression, we end mass incarceration.
And I'm also just touched by the residue of slavery, the psychological chains. You know, when I look at things, for example, you may have a situation where you have a gentleman that, you know, how they talk about 2 or 3 or 4 baby mamas, whatever. My thing is, you know, people have their choices. I don't support abortion, so I wouldn't say get rid of them, but what I say is I do recognize that in that slavery situation, there were men that were specifically designed to go to this house and this house and this house and stud.
Right.
And I'm saying, I see,
Breeding,
even
breeding
if
system.
stuff is in our DNA, you know, when you're in an abnormal culture, it's nature that you shift and adjust to survive.
Mhm.
So there's stuff that is in our DNA as residue from that, and I think that's one of the examples. I'm not saying that that excuses accountability and responsibility and choices, but I think we do have to recognize that those things play a part. What do you think?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, right now today, you know, we talk about a mural race. We got Mike Duggan, who moved from Livonia into a city that's 85% black. My point is, you know, the psychological damage of our community. So over the last 10, 20 years, you know, the media, the white media has beaten us up saying, okay, you've had black leadership, you've had black mayors, and none of you all was qualified to lead this great city. So we're about to send you this white man.
What is that great white hope, that savior?
But it comes out of what you just described. Okay. That residue of still that self-hatred that we have towards each other, those behavior patterns because we still have not reclaimed who we are. So it leaves loopholes to, okay, well, Yusef fucked up, well, let's go get a Mike Duggan. Well, because Yusef fucked up doesn't mean Nikita can't get her job done.
Right.
Doesn't mean that firstborn can't get the job done.
Right.
Somebody, I mean, you're telling
somebody
me that
that's here every day and
right,
struggle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You telling me that there's not one qualified black person that we have to go and get this white man, and also too, it's not about the pigmentation of a person's skin.
Exactly.
It's the pigmentation of that character of that person.
Yes.
I mean, then also, if any white person in their right mind, they have to agree with this, because you best believe ain't no white person about to advocate for Yusef Shakur to go to Dearborn and run for mayor of a all white city of Livonia.
Right.
I mean, these things are real. So I mean, the biggest struggle that black folks have is a mental struggle. The physical change have been removed, but the mental change are still there.
And I find too, I'm just noticing how all things are related, be it the foods we eat, you know, because there are chemicals that are put in processed foods, you know, that can adversely affect us, kill us, give us diseases, cause us to be sucked up into their system of prescription drugs, whatever. There's also, depending on, you know, the music that you're listening to, the thoughts that you're having, the books that you're reading, the people that you're associating with, and people don't whether or not your house is clean or nasty, all of it culminates to who we are as we leave our front doors going into the world. Right. And I mention that because you share quite openly in social media, you know, that, you know, when you're getting back and when you're exercising, when you're riding your bike, when you've been running, when you've been in the street with the team, you know, picking up what you're reading, you know, and you even touch on, you know, relationship related things. You do show your tender side. You show to me
you use that T word.
You show a little tender side. I'll be like, oh, that's sweet. And I ain't gonna lie, the nosy part of me be like, who are we talking about? Anyway, that's none of my business. It's none of my business. But I'll be like, that's sweet, because to me, it shows, and it shows other men that it's okay to be a real man, a protector, a lover, a provider. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, actually, I'm glad you recognize that, and I make a conscious effort to do that, and even challenge myself, because you know, even like you've been my Facebook friend for a minute.
Yeah.
But rarely do I talk about my book.
Right.
Rarely do I talk about the store, not because I don't want to, because you have to find your niche in social media.
Yes.
And so for me, those things have not been my niche in particular. People are able to gravitate those things. I would love for people to gravitate to those things, but for no reason they just haven't. But what people have been able to gravitate to, who I am as a person, the inspiration, the hope that they get from that. Now, that's nothing that just came out and said this is what you need, but it's just kind of evolved into. So, and what I definitely want to demonstrate through social media is who I am. I'm a human being that cries, that hurts, that's happy, that's angry, and also more importantly, even though I'm feeding it to thousands, millions of people, I'm really feeding to that one person in particular, which is myself.
That's right.
It's a confidence booster for me when I'm in my darkest moment, that I can just put it out there and you don't have to worry about it. I mean, actually, my social media and Facebook is like my diary.
Yeah.
I don't care who like it, who don't like it.
Right.
You know, again, that's why I say Yusef Shakur.
That's right.
YBS. So
yes,
if you tune in, you tuning into the YBS report,
and you know what you get.
Absolutely,
straight no chasing.
But yeah, most definitely. Even like I said, me writing. I wrote a couple of days ago about my love and what I would like to do for her. And so
right.
again, just being able to educate and impact. Like I'll leave on this note. A guy on Facebook a couple weeks ago, he had sent me a message. He was like, "Man, I had a dream." And I'm like, "What you mean you had a dream?"
Okay.
And he was like, "Man, I had a dream that the city was on fire, was in all types of trouble, and you came and you rescued us, you saved us."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, "Wow, for real?" But he was like, "Man, you never know who's watching you." And people always watching us and looking, learning from us.
Yes.
And so that keeps me on point. That keeps me humble. It keeps me, days that I want to quit. Like if I quit, thousands of other people may quit. But again, just knowing that I'm a tool that God is using.
Yes.
Some days I'm a vice grip. Other days I'm a plier.
Right.
I'm a nail. But I'm a tool, nevertheless, helping rebuild God's people.
And you're useful.
Yes.
And one more thing that I did want to mention. I noticed, maybe it was a few months ago after, we had known that you wanted to run for city council, and as happens sometimes, there was a post and people make their comments, and this one gentleman kind of had a problem with you. It was when Detroit's Native Son came out, the documentary, the biographical documentary about your life, and his kind of thing was kind of like that you were like too young to have this. But what I noticed about in that exchange, had that exchange happened a few months earlier, that Yusef might have cussed him out and told him to stay off his page. But the Yusef in that post was very diplomatic, firm, held to your position, but I could see the growth in you. And I told first, I said, look at here. I said, Yusef, back in the day, Yusef would have cussed him out. Look at Yusef. When you can see another man's growth.
Absolutely.
That's a good thing.
Actually, that person, he's still on my page.
I got to see that.
And it's like for me, I try to come outside myself to look at everything and really look at it from a scientific standpoint. Mm-hmm. Like I deleted it at one time. Mm-hmm. We talked on I inboxed like, dude, what's going on, man?
Right.
Like you can have your opinion, I can't control that, but you ain't got to come on mine and just be trying to like boss me or something, man.
Right.
And we reached overstand. I added him back because again, I pride myself on being a man. And there ain't no man or woman I'm afraid of dealing with. And so, but I use him as a tool to make me better.
That's right.
Because there's some things that he says that it just irks me, but again, I can't control him. So hopefully, he's learning from who I am. He respects what I'm saying. Because a lot of things he was saying, I get you're gonna get it. And that's one thing I really want to convey to your message at this particular time. Mm-hmm. You can't doubt who you are.
That's right.
God gave you a message for a reason. God gave you a vision for a reason. You got to run with it.
That's right.
You listen to other people telling you shouldn't write a book, you shouldn't host your own TV show, you shouldn't clean your block up. Then you're being a disgrace to God. God put that on your heart and your mind for a reason. So you got to believe the fact that you're capable of and you're strong enough. And the non-believers will ultimately be believers, but you got to believe first and foremost when no one else will. Absolutely.
You have to stand firm in your convictions. Now what we're going to do, we're going to take a brief break, a musical break, but when we come back, I do want to touch on, because we have so much more to talk about. You are just the epitome of a guest to someone like me. I could do a week's worth of shows on you with good content. Okay. But I want to talk about Detroit's Native Son next. And I haven't even seen the new revised version yet.
Are you okay.
No, I just saw the original version. And even that, now you know me, everybody knows I'm just I cry at everything, so I'm all in the, at Burton International, at the end, but I left feeling uplifted, inspired, hopeful, and I could see in the room that, nobody can just sit there and watch that and not have any kind of shift. It's gonna they're gonna think, well, he was this or they're gonna feel something. They can't walk away from that and not either be inspired to go do or some energy is going to be generated, and that's what I want to touch on a little bit more when we come back. We're going to take a very quick musical break, and this is a song that you personally brought to my attention and that I'm digging. It is Dead Prez, Overstand. Take it away, Power. I should have done that. I should have kept talking till the 30 minutes. We're cool, because they can edit this. We gonna go ahead. We're gonna pick up 4 minutes though. They can edit this. My bad. See, I go with the flow. It felt like it was time to stop.
You like that?
I love you. You're a great guest. My circle is awesome, Mr. Lindsay. People like you and people like Yusef doing things. Power, I know I said 30 minutes. The flow stopped. It's cool.
You said the flow stopped?
Well, no, we just came to the point where we were
Well,
like,
it's only
yeah, like I said, I know, but I apologize. I'm gonna try not to do
That's
that.
the whole reason why I got up too, girl. Like I got 3 minutes left.
I know, I knew he did, but the
We're gonna switch to vegetarian.
We're hot. Whenever you're ready, you can go.
All right, we are back live in the studio with Yusef Shakur, and that was Dead Prez Overstand, and I really enjoyed that piece. I really feel that when I'm at to add that to my little phone so I can rock out with that one. And as I mentioned before we cut to the music, you recently, well not recently, but over the last year you've been working on and finally have your documentary, Detroit's Native Son. For those who are not familiar, have not seen or heard, just tell us a little bit about exactly what is Detroit's Native Son.
It just brings to life some of the things I talked about earlier, in particular, growing up in Detroit, relationship between me and my mother, my prison, me and my father, who I met in prison, my transformation, the bookstore, the work. So it gives you a visual of who I am and how I became who I am. But also it brings just the characters, the stories of other people who've been impacted, who've seen it, who didn't think I'd be alive, thought I should be in prison. So it's very inspirational. I've been doing screenings all across the country. They've been well attended, well received. One of my last screenings I did was in Rochester, New York, and a young man, he had just turned 21, and he was in the audience, he's talking, he started walking down. So, you know, I'm from Detroit, like, what are you walking down? They walking up on me for
Right.
He hugged me.
Yeah.
He was just so inspired. I mean, because as he's walking, like, man, I see myself in you, I see myself doing what you're doing. So it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful, the response, and it conveys the message that we can't love our youth straight.
That's
I
right.
mean, we can't scare them straight, we have to love them straight.
Yes. And you know what I like about that, because to me, when I saw it, it wasn't, because some, people might look at it as a cautionary tale. I don't think it's a cautionary tale. I don't think it's about, don't do this, avoid that.
Right.
I think it's a tale of redemption and transformation.
Absolutely.
In spite of the odds.
Absolutely, and then also it gets to the heart of the matter. It shows you who I am. It shows you we talked about earlier, my transparency.
Yes,
Everything,
it's real.
Everything's on the table.
Yeah.
Because you can have folks talk about, I did this or I did that. We showing you what I've done. When we talk, and what I've done is a part of a collection of teams of folks who I've been able to meet. Some folks I still work with, some folks I don't work with, but nevertheless, it's right, exactly. It's part of we made history in doing something on a zero budget.
That's
hope,
right.
love, and just giving a fuck.
That's right. I love that. Hope, love, and giving a fuck. I like that. And one of the things that I really loved about the documentary was, now I cried, but I laughed a lot too.
Oh, yeah, that's funny.
When people told the stories about you, oh, he was bad. It's just funny when they remember. But what I like about you can feel the overarching theme is love. You can see how they're proud that they thought you was going to be a holy terror, but they're proud to see the transformation. And that's the beautiful part, because to me, that's what Life Without Limits is about. Yeah, life can get messy, but what you gonna do? Because in all situations, I feel like, so what, now what? And not to discount people's pain, but we gotta find a way to get over, break through, get past, and move on.
And that's what Detroit Native Son, from Zone Street to prison to community leader, conveys. It brings the message of the books. The Witness of My Soul, my first book. My soul was back the second. So again, in a documentary, you only got an hour and a half to be able to convey a story. So, things that may not be in there, that's the reason with the books.
Mhm.
So, being able to cover the gamut, because, sometimes, I may give a young person a book, or even an old person, I don't want to read this, but now after watching the documentary, they feel inspired to go back and read the book and learn the whole story. And more importantly, I'm humble enough, real enough to recognize that my life story is somebody else's life story.
That's right.
So we're all connected. We're all part of it. I just give praise to God that's conveying the message of hope and redemption through me to help others give them hope and redeem their lives.
Absolutely. So when are you doing another screening in Detroit? And where are the upcoming screenings going to be? Because you do travel around the world. I mean, the country. World.
We're gonna
get world. I'm an oracle, right? So if I say it, it's about to happen.
Absolutely.
So you traveled around the world.
Right.
Where are we showing?
Be honest with you, Detroit.
They haven't responded.
No, I haven't responded the way. I go to small cities such as Grand Rapids, Lansing, Mount Pleasant. They roll out the red carpet. Detroit is. It's hard grind. So I'm not giving up on Detroit.
That's right.
I'm gonna figure some things out. Actually, I'm about to put together a tour, and on this tour we're going to be able to bring everything together: the books, the documentary, which is we got to love our youth straight, not scare them straight.
That's right.
And that's what the message of the documentary, the message of my life is. So potentially looking for some sponsors to get on board with that, and some other folks Detroit is always my home base, my foundation. It's a certain strategy that you got to use with Detroit. So I'm about to go back into the lab.
That's right.
Re-energize myself and come out stronger, but definitely, I'm open to traveling the country, and that's the beauty about other places. It's not too much of red tape. They recognize it. Let's make it happen. I've had folks make it happen within 2 weeks, 3 weeks. How much you charge, what you need, blah blah blah. Detroit, man, I've had it take 2 years.
Okay.
To pull off.
They say what a prophet is without honor in his own country. Whatever the case may be. But I think that's even part of your journey. To go out, and spread the word. In Detroit, okay, you better get it while you can.
Right, yeah.
Okay. And there's so many things I want to talk about with you, but we got a little more time with you, so we're gonna have you come back again.
Okay.
But before you leave, I want to make sure that we touch on the upcoming Steve Harvey hoodie nominations. Now, for those that aren't familiar, last year you were the runner-up for the Best Community Leader category.
Correct.
So we're going in again?
Absolutely.
We're going in it to win it?
Absolutely. We're going in it to win it. We got a taste of what it was like. This is my fourth year being nominated.
Okay.
Each year we got